In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a design that was sent to us by a customer, and this is what they did up to this point. And what they're looking to do is, well, they're not quite sure exactly how to finish it off. Well, I looked at the design, and I would probably take a different approach. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you our thought process when we look at a design and some of the different things that you might consider when you're starting out with a design. So let's go ahead and just make a copy of this bitmap. Now, one of the things I noticed here, if you look at where the stones are, they're actually placed outside the artwork. And this particular logo we know is a very distinctive logo. And so we want to probably stay truer to the logo than maybe what this is over here if I were doing the design work. Now, one of the things that I think is really, really important is when you're doing your design work, because I hear it almost every day, is, well, I only have this stone size or that stone size. Well, if you want to do really quality rhinestone design work, then you would use whatever stones are appropriate for the design that you're working on, not just what's sitting there on the shelf, in my opinion. So if a design calls for a specific stone size of a specific color, because that's going to give you the best quality result, well, then you just go get that stone size and that stone color. That's so when I begin a design project, that's where my head is. So it definitely complicates things. I can tell you in a general sense, to get the look of certain logos, it definitely complicates things, almost makes it to the point where it's almost impossible if you say, no, I only want to use these particular stone sizes, because you won't get the result that you're looking to get in a lot of cases. So here's some things that we want to take a look at this logo, some things to consider when we begin our design process. First and foremost, if you look at this logo, what do you see? What I see is I see a complete A. All right, so our A is totally complete. We can see right there at the edge. Now, it's interesting, if you look at the original design that was sent to us, you could see this 8 is actually intruding on the A. And really, it's almost like if you were to look at it, the 8 is behind the A. Because if you look at the logo by itself, you can see the A is completely visible. Part of the 8 is being hidden by the A. Whereas in the original logo, it actually went against the grain there a little bit. And the 8 is actually sitting on top of the A. And that's not how this logo is. The A is first, the 8 is in the background. Okay, so what I would do, my first process would be to focus on the A. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could tackle this. If you look at the original artwork, you could see that the A had all been done all in SS10. And you could certainly do that. There's nothing wrong with that, per se. I would take a different approach, probably. There is no manual to tell you exactly what you should do. So we just kind of dive in and try some things. So here's what we're going to do first. We're going to select our bitmap. We're going to lock it down on the specialty tab. Let's lock it. And then the next thing we want to do is drop a couple of stones. So I've got my stone color set to hot pink, which is fine. I want to drop an SS16 stone, and I want to drop a 10 stone, and we might as well drop a 6. These are the 3 stone sizes we're going to work with predominantly. And so what I just in my mind, what I think I want to try, I want to see what SS16 stones would look like across the bottom. So we'll go to the stone fill tab and we'll offset a few here. That's step 1. And then what I'd like to see is I'd like to see this half of the A. I'd like to see an SS16 stones. And this half of the A, I want to see what it looks like with SS10 stones. All right, so we'll go ahead and copy this straight across. And again, we'll use our offset tool to offset a few extras. All right. And so I would probably start with my 16s. So what I want to do is take these 3 stones and offset them upwards. And I think that'll be fine. And then I want to just take this stone right here and put it right there at the tip of my A. Select these 2 stones. So I'm selecting one, holding my shift key, and select the other. Shift add stones. And now you can see already, you can see here, this 8 is basically being hidden by these stones that I just placed. But you'll see a small adjustment to this artwork that I'm going to make momentarily. But let's get this A finished first. So you see this here. Let's go into wireframe mode so we can see this too. There's a path right along here. We're going to select these stones along that and just come over here and right click and make a duplicate. Pick it up from the center, move over here to the duplicate. Alright, so let's go back over here to enhance mode, and now you can kind of see what we're doing here. Now the next thing I want to try is, what if we just took this little SS6 stone, and I'm just going to drop it right there just for fun. And same thing over here. I'm going to drop that little SS6 stone there. Sometimes I like doing that just for little detail work, just because you can see in the original artwork, you see how it's kind of curved right there. We're going to try and kind of mimic that a little bit and just kind of see what it looks like. It may not look very well. You kind of don't know until you try some different things. All right, so that takes care of this A. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to select all of these stones. We're going to break them. So we're going to leave the path, but we're breaking the stones. And the reason being is I'm going to come in here and delete a few stones here. And really what I want to do is I want to take this stone right here. I tell you what, let's just take this stone right up here and copy it down here. And I want to create this other direction. I want to create a guideline. And we have some really cool tools in here that I use. When I approach a design, it's very important for me to have it very, very exact, and so I have all kinds of tools that I've built into EasyStone for my own personal use. You may not go to this length to get it perfected, but let me just show you what we're going to do here. So let's open up our Easy Guide tool, because this is something that I use quite often when I'm doing my design work. I need to create a guideline at the same angle. If we were to take this stone and this stone, whatever angle that is, I need to create a guideline specifically at that angle. So watch what we're going to do. We're going to hit Shift Guided Angle, and you see there we have a guideline now at this angle. Now this angle isn't exactly 100% the same angle as our original artwork, but it's close enough for government work here. So now that we have this this intersection here, we can drop a stone right at that intersection. And same thing here, of course, we can drop a stone right at this intersection as well. All right. To create that guideline, it's possible to do in CorelDRW, but it's a multi-step process. So I thought, hey, you know what? Let's just create us a tool to do that for us automatically. So now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to take this stone here and select this stone at the bottom and hit S. And what that does is it selects every stone in between. And then if I right click on either H or V, we can shift those stones at an angle. Now I think there's just one too many there because that stone is a little bit tight. So let's do that again. S and then right click, and now those are nicely spaced. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll select this one, come down here and select this one, hit S, right click. We have one too many stones here, so we'll select S, right click. All right, that's better than what we had originally. So now we can go ahead and delete that. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put in our stones going in the opposite direction. Now you remember I decided that I'm going to try and use a different stone size for effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and drop in some SS10 stones because I want something different than what we had over here. So we'll take this stone here. We'll just kind of tuck it up right there and see what that's going to give us. So let's move this one over a little bit. Shift add stones. And that will create that for us. And then we can take this, bring it over a little bit. Obviously we have a situation here. So we'll break stones again. We'll delete this one. And this is where I would just, for exactness, I'd go ahead and drop in a 6. That way we can tuck this up really nice and tight. And then we'll go ahead and move this stone into position where we would want it. And then we'll select everything in between. So S for to select everything in between, right click on H, and there you go. So now we can delete this path and this path because we don't need those, but I guess those stones are still attached. So let's just select the whole thing and hit delete stone paths. Okay. Now, just like we did over here, just for effect, let's go ahead and bring over these little SS6 stones, like so. So we can go ahead and delete this one. There's an extra stone there too. Now we have to create these stones going horizontally. So I just pull over an SS10 there, pull over an SS10 here. Shift add stones to fit in between. We'll delete the stone paths from those. Okay. So now the next thing to decide is, well, how nitpicky do we want to get with our A here? And I think I want to get a bit more nitpicky. So I'm going to drop this down to a 10. And some of these things we just have to try. I don't know if it's going to look very good or not. But what if we put a 6 here? We'll put a 6 there. And I just kind of hand place these a little bit. What if we drop this down to a 10? Let's see here. Could we fit 2 6s? We could. So maybe that's what I would do. I just think it's a bit more exact, and I like the different stone sizes. So I tend to use them every chance I get, and not just to complement or complicate the design. I just think it actually looks better. So if we go ahead and throw a weed box around it, sometimes it's hard to see what we're going to get until we actually throw that weed box around it and say, well, either we like that or we don't like that. And in this case, I'm quite happy with that. So I'll just leave it the way it is. So once we've confirmed that that's what we want, then we're moving on to the next step. Now, in order to capture that original logo as accurately as we can, I need to see more of the 8 here where it's kind of intersecting the A. So what I would do is grab our A, and with our arrow keys on our keyboard, just nudge it over so I can get the stones that I want to get. I need part of that 8 to be clipped, but I need a stone there, and I don't have room for a stone the way it was. So I just shifted that A over, and now I've made plenty of room. All right, so we're going to use a different stone color for this 8. I would do the 8 next, because then the 7, you can kind of see it's A87. So the 7 is almost behind the 8 as I see it. All right. And this is really a very low-tech approach, but I think it works quite well. So the first thing we need to see is we just need to kind of experiment with some stone sizes to see what's really going to work best. So we have a 16 here. Let's copy that over. And you can see that 16 actually fits really well for this thickness right here. So we'll probably leave that like that. And if we copy this up here, you could see that this width-wise, that 16 is just about exactly what we want for the width-wise. And you could see up here, we'll go ahead and leave that there. And even at the tip up here, you could see that it works really well for that as well. So that's probably what I would I would leave it as. So we'll go ahead and copy this over right there, and we'll just slide this over here. So now to get this, we're going to do this. We're going to just kind of do the same thing. We're going to start with a 16 there. We'll have a 16 here, but in between, we're going to use a 10. So let's just go ahead and switch that over. And this is where, you can just kind of tweak it, and the stones will kind of guide you what's necessary to make a change here and there. See, I'd like to have that just a little bit more curvature there. So in order to get that curvature going on like we need it to, well, then you can see it's intruding on my A a little bit. So we'll go ahead and grab my A. We'll just tap it over a little bit there. And you kind of, there's a little bit of give and take. You can get really, really particular, but it's, it is a bit of a give and take. All right. So that takes care of that portion of it. Now, what do we want to do here? Well, I think what I want to do right here is I want to use 2 10s. Okay. So if we have 2 10s here, like so, then I'll just bring this 16 a little bit closer. And we're going to kind of wrap this around. So I'm going to go 16, 16 to that point there. And then what we want to do is we want to come down, and I think I'll just manually copy these. Okay. So all we're doing is just left click and drag, right click to make a duplicate. We could also hit the space bar, and that would drop. Every time I hit the space bar, I would drop a stone as well. Okay. So you kind of just you can see what I did. I just kind of hand placed those stones. But now what I want to do is I want to get a nice even stone spacing. So we're going to go here, 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 here. I'm just select one stone, hold my shift key, and select all the others going around the corner. And then we'll come to the editing tab and hit respace. So we respaced all those stones apart. There you go. Now right here, when we're coming down at this angle, this stone right there needs to be a 6. Okay, because we kind of need to mimic where it gets thinner. Then the rest of these will be 10s. Okay, so now you can kind of see too where we do run into a problem with our stone spacing. But for now, let's just leave that. You'll see how we're going to fix that momentarily. So let's go ahead and finish this part of the 8. So again, we're going to come around the bend here with some 16s, and then we're going to finish this bend off with some 10s, like so. So this is where we fix this stone spacing. You can see it's really tight, so this is where we fix it. And I'm just going to use the freehand selection tool here in CorelDRW. Once you get used to working with these various tools here in CorelDRW, you'll be able to make selections quite simply and what have you. But we'll just come in here with our freehand selection tool and come all the way down there. And so you can see we have all these stones along the bend selected. So I'm going to hold my shift key down and click on this little guy down here. That deselects it, and then hit it again. Shift, click it again. And what we're doing there is we're telling EasyStone, start here and space these selected stones appropriately. So then we'll just hit respace. And now you can see we have a nice equal spacing all the way around the bend there. And that's exactly what we got to have, right, for the best looking design. So now we're going to throw in a little tiny SS6 stone here. Notice that when we did that respace function, we created a path. You can go to wireframe mode. There's our path. So we would need to go ahead and dispose of that. And then we're going to just fill in the blanks with some 10s. And of course, because we have it, we're going to do a nice perfected spacing. So we're going to come from this point here. So let's go grab our freehand selection tool, and we're going to come around through all the way up to this point here, right there. So if you look here, see these little tick marks along the way there? That means those stones are selected. So if you just take a quick gander And all those stones, yes, they're all selected. So again, shift key, we're going to need to start at one end or the other. We have to start. So let's do it this way. So shift, click on that end stone. That deselects it. The tick mark is gone. Shift, reselect it. The tick mark is back. And we've now told Easy Stone, okay, I need to space all of the stones that I've selected, starting with that one particular stone. So we'll hit respace. And you can see the amount of adjustment was almost nothing. And that's because I have a pretty good eye as far as spacing, but you can get it just exact just by clicking that respace button too. So now the path is selected that we don't need any longer, so let's go ahead and dispose of that. All right, so now what we need to do is kind of finish this off, and what I would probably do, just because I think it would look best, and you could see SS16 stones are pretty darn close as far as the width goes. So I think I'll just go ahead and leave it that way. And a lot of times now this stone spacing is going to be very, very tight, but you'll see what we're going to do to that here momentarily. So what we're going to do is just come in here and we'll go ahead and select these stones going all the way around the bend. We'll go ahead and respace them. We know that stone spacing is quite tight, and so we have a decision to make. Either we're going to accept that stone spacing that tight, or we can right click and delete one stone. You see this respace, this has lit up, and so that and also this plus minus has also lit up. That means that these stones are placed along a path, and if we right click on plus minus, we can drop one stone. So now you can see that that stone spacing has increased just a little bit. And you know, given the two options, I think I would prefer a little bit more stone spacing than the stone spacing as tight as it was. So then we'll go ahead and hit delete stone paths, and you can see there is our letter, our number 8. Now, if you look at this, let's just go ahead and pull this away here. If you look at this, what we've done up to this point, and then you look at this, and let's go ahead and throw a weed box around it so you can really see it. You can see visually, from a clarity standpoint, obviously the one here on the left is nicer to look at. And it's not a dig on the original design. It's just if you understand the process and the importance of opening yourself up to these other stone sizes, that's why this one here on the left looks as good as it does, is because we've used different stone sizes to create the design in a way that really makes a lot of sense. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to finish up our 7. So let's go back to our design here, and we're going to choose a different color for 7. And I think what I'd like to do with 7 is I think I'd like to just use predominantly SS10 stones. It's just a personal decision. You know, you can obviously use whatever you want, but let's try SS10 stones. Let's set those to cobalt blue for this example. And so you can see I just dropped in one stone there. I need to fit something in here. Probably a 6 is going to work best. And then we're going to have to come down with another stone down here. But let's go ahead and drop this in first. So we just take one here, one here. You can see we're just kind of placing that along the original artwork. Select them both. Shift add stones. There you go. You see that looks real good. Now you see I still have this selected, this whole string. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this one end stone and just manually copy it down and do the same thing. Shift add stones. Okay. Now I'm real particular, and I don't like this big gaping hole here. So I'm going to undo that. Tuck this stone up just a little bit more. And try it again. That small adjustment in spacing, I prefer that. So we'll go ahead and hit delete stone paths. And you can see that looks pretty good for R7. So then I go ahead and take this stone and drop it right down here. Same thing, shift add stones, and we'll delete stone paths, and I'll just focus on this down here to get this spacing the way I want. And of course this isn't going to line up top here, so we'll go ahead and we'll delete that one extra stone, and we'll just push this stone up a little bit, select that one and this one, select everything in between, right click to resort these stones. You can see this gap is a little bit bigger here, so we'll just right click either on H or V, and there we go. Alright, so I know that was a lot of work. We spent a good 20 minutes on this design, but at the end of the day we have a really sharp design, I think. It looks pretty close to the original artwork. Let's go ahead and throw a weed box around it. Let's look at the original artwork here and kind of compare, and you can see it looks pretty good from the original. The same thing that we have here. So hopefully that gives you just a little bit of an idea on how we approach certain designs, and the look that we're going for, and our thought process when we look at a design, some of the different things and different techniques that we use, and it gets easier and easier. The more you do, the easier and easier it will get. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching.